Aug5 and welcome to another episode of On the Record. I'm your host, Michael Stalk. In studio, we have board member Kenneth and Joe Delaronde of K103. One of the reasons that they're here is because of all the controversy that's been going on back and forth in the paper and emails, and it seems like there's so many issues in this community, and we're being consumed with what's going on at K103. There's a lot of, issues with past board members, past employees, management. It's hard to sift through. But looking from the outside in and reading all the information and trying to, form an opinion, it's difficult. But it looks like the radio station is in crisis, according to somebody that doesn't know any about what's going on. And I guess today we'll clear some of that up. So welcome, Kenneth and Joe.
Well, thank you. First of all, we're happy to be here. You're the first media, by the way, to actually interview any of the board members or anybody from the radio station.
We appreciate that.
We want to thank you. Thank you for that, because other media had the opportunity before this time, and they haven't.
I don't want to cut you off, but let's start from the beginning. I think a lot of the controversy started with the fundraiser for the Boston Bruins and Brian Goodleaf, and he's been pretty adamant about keeping the money, because he's saying that it was, raised under the auspice of a new building fund, and apparently some of the board were intending to use it for other than that. That's how we started this whole thing off, and let's try to clear the air on that.
It's absolutely not true. There is no intention by the board to use the money for anything else. We need a new building. There's no doubt about that. But the specific request that we made to Mohawk Genevar was for new equipment to go inside the building. We were going to do a separate fundraising for the building itself, for the construction. But what we asked Mohawk Genevar for was the equipment to go into a new building. And we put that request into Mohawk Genevar, and they accepted that. And that's why it was split between the hospital and the radio station, for material to go inside the building, not for bricks and mortar, but for equipment. There was no, I'm a board member. There are 7 people on the board, and the board at no time, at any time, had any kind of discussion about using the money for anything else, because we need that equipment. There was no intention by the board to use that funding
One of the letters that Brian Goodleaf had, the ad that he put in the Eastern Door, there was a letter in there thanking them for the building fund. So was that, I don't understand that part. You're saying that it had nothing to do with it, but then there was a letter saying that thank you for the money for our new building.
The board of directors was very kind and very happy that this fundraising took place. We had no idea that he was going to hold the funding back. We gave him, we were grateful to him. We trusted him. We sent him a letter of thank you for the money. We didn't. In hindsight, we want to use different words in there to say thank you for the equipment and funding for the equipment, if we had known this was going to happen. But myself, if I'm supposed to give $54,000 to somebody, and I got a thank you letter for that $54,000. I never gave the $54,000. I'd be a little embarrassed to show that kind of a letter, because it's he's obviously accepting the praise for the money, but not actually turning over the funds. It sounds a little odd.
And that's, I think, the controversy in the community also. Some people are saying that, regardless of what the money was raised for, it was raised for the radio station, give them the money. On the other hand, people are saying, you know what, I donated because they said they wanted a new building, and now they're going to use it for salaries and equipment. I don't want my money to go to that.
It's not being used for salary. There's nothing more I can say. The request was made for office equipment that would not be covered in the construction of the building. There's nothing. The board has never discussed anything else. It's just a suspicion on Mr. Goodleaf's part that it would be used this way, and you shouldn't make major decisions like that based on gossip or hearsay or suspicion. It's the board operates by consensus, And he was a member of the board. If he wanted to protect the money, the best place for him to be was to be on the board to make sure that the money was well spent.
You're right. You know, in that context, you know, that's what you're going to do. And any time you're going to raise money, and I think that's been something in this community for a long time, of the mistrust when it comes to money. Creating a board or creating a body that oversee whatever money's coming into the community, whether it's through fundraising or whether it's through MCK initiatives or anybody else, so that the money goes where it's intended or goes to at least where it's needed.
I think one of the problems in principle with this is that how future fundraisings will be looked at. I think that it's a bad precedent to do things this way. I think it puts doubt in people's mind. It makes it harder for nonprofit organizations to raise money. You know, and we already have a problem of donation fatigue in Kahnawake, and this exasperates that. And sometimes wonder if you see a truck being raffled or a car being raffled or something, where is that money going? And it puts doubt in people's minds.
And that's another show. You know, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that too.
I think there's some irony that you know, K103 in its history has done fundraising for everyone. You know, we had two of them for Elwin Morris when he was going to the Olympics. We raised $35,000 for a fire truck. We raised well, not a fire truck, but an ambulance, and then how much was it for a $500,000 almost for the ladder truck, $200,000 for the youth center. Never did K103 throw in clauses after the fact, and that's the problem that we have. And you know, I think it's unfair of Mr. Goodleaf to say that in some of his paid advertising that somehow we're attacking him and his family. All we're saying is that a commitment was made. We have the letter here that clearly states we're asking for, you know, for money for equipment and furniture that is not going to come with a building. And that's it. That's it. No one has said anything nasty about him. No one said anything nasty about anyone. But, you know, it's certainly escalated to unprecedented levels here, which makes it very difficult to carry on the business at hand that needs to be carried on. And
then, you know, from there, a lot of stuff stems from that initial, I guess, controversy in regards to the money. Then it started to get into the management. It started to get into, you know, native employees versus non-native employees, and you know, we'll talk about that later on in the show. But you know, and it keeps going. So how do we deal with the initial part of that? Because that's not going to go away, or it may go away because Brian now is saying that I'm going to give the money to somebody else.
Well, then I don't know who that somebody else is, but that's still violating the verbal contract that Brian Goodleaf made with the community. You know, that the money would be that would be going to K103. It's you know, it sets a really bad. I think it's unethical to take that money and use it for something else. You know, it wasn't raised for that reason, and you know, it just does not sit well with myself and a lot of people. We had a lot of phone calls, you know, from people saying that they disagree with Mr. Goodleaf's position. Family members, community members. Genevar, his partner, Vice President of Genevar, called us and saying that they want to distance themselves from that decision because it had nothing to do with Genevar. You know, so there are a lot of you know, principled positions about how that money should be used, why it was raised, and where it's going, and it's not a personal issue. It's an issue of principle, and it's not a personal attack. It's a public issue. It's public money was raised, and it should go to where it's supposed to go.
Well,
that's all there is.
But the thing is, how do you get over where the radio station is saying that no, we told you it was for equipment and furniture or whatever, and Brian's adamant about saying that no, you told me it was for the building, so therefore you said that it's not going to go there. I mean, you have a letter, he has a letter. You know what? Like I said, from the outside looking in, I don't know.
The thank you letter is just a polite little letter. It's not a policy or it's not the actual request to Mohawk Genevar was for equipment and furniture that would go into a new building. It's very specific. There's even a list We have a list of materials in the package that we gave to Mohawk General. So it's very clear from our part what it was going to be used for. Because we wrote a nice, polite thank you letter before we even got the money, it just shows the trust that we had in Brian Goodleaf, that he's not going to use his thank you letter against us. It doesn't make a lot of sense to us.
And at the end of the day, like I had said earlier, and a lot of community members are saying the same thing. You know what? So what? If they use it for a building fund, if they use it for widgets, or they use it for salaries, or they use it for whatever they're going to use it for, the money was raised for the radio station, give it to the radio station, and we'll deal with the next time. If there's another fundraiser, then, like you said, maybe terms of references are going to have to start being made for fundraising. On that thought, we're going to take a break, though, and we'll continue it right after these messages.